the business. Thanks for coming out tonight.
I wrote me a manual, a step-by-step booklet for you to get.
Oh, I make money move.
You can't see me, my time is now.
What up, guys? Welcome back to the Fitness Times Business Podcast. My name is Joseph Mencel. I am your host. Guys, I do something every weekend in my Instagram story on my personal Instagram profile. For those of you who don't follow me on Instagram and would like to, the handle is @Joseph Mencel. It's just my name with an @ sign in front of it. Every weekend in my Instagram story, I do what I call my weekend Q&A. And it's effectively just a question and answer, but you can ask me anything. So I get hundreds upon hundreds of questions each and every weekend. I take the Instagram question and answer box and I chuck it up on my Instagram story, usually on a Saturday afternoon or a Saturday night. And I get hundreds of questions from all different areas of life. I get business questions, fitness questions, personal life questions, relationship questions. You name it, I get questions from that particular area of life. And my goal each and every weekend is to, I sift through the questions and I pick between 20 and 30 of the best ones and I write responses in my Instagram story to each of those 20 or 30 best questions that come through every weekend. And I post those up usually Sunday night and sometimes Monday morning as well. And I had a question last weekend that inspired this episode of the podcast. And the question was, and I'm going to paraphrase here, I don't have it in front of me, but the question was along the lines of, given the current economic climate because of COVID-19, do you think it's the right time to start a new business? And my response was something along the lines of, if you have to ask that question, it's definitely not the right time to start your business. Because by asking that question, you're already setting yourself up to fail because you're giving yourself an excuse to hang the hat of failure on if your business doesn't work, which means your business is probably not going to work. And it was a very candorous answer. It was a very frank answer. And I do try and keep my weekend Q&As very short, sharp, to the point, no bullshit, not here to fuck spiders. And that was one of those answers. But after I posted it, it got me thinking, it's really something that I want to explore in more depth. And I really couldn't in my Instagram story because you only have so much space to write and, people only have like 10 seconds to read it and it just needs to be short, sharp, to the point. But I got thinking about it and it inspired this episode of Fitness Times Business because I really want to dig deep into this concept of it being the right time to pursue something, it being the right time to pursue a business goal, being the right time to pursue a career goal, it being the right time to pursue a fitness goal or a personal life goal or a family goal or any area of your life that you have goals set up that you're waiting to take steps towards achieving a particular goal and you're waiting for it to be the quote unquote right time. And so this episode of Fitness Times Business is going to be called Waiting for the quote unquote right time. And there's a couple of different things that I want to explore that I think are going to give you guys a lot of value in the next 20 minutes or so and give you a bunch of not just food for thought, but practical strategies and practical advice if you find yourself in a situation, which let's be honest, we all do from one time to another, where what's preventing you from taking a step towards achieving a particular goal in your life is you're waiting for it to be the quote unquote right time. So the things I want to explore, firstly, I want to make sure that we are paying close attention to the distinction between it being the wrong time and it not being the quote unquote right time. Because there are definitely scenarios in fitness, business, career, and all areas of your life where it would be foolish to take steps towards achieving a particular goal because it's actually the wrong time. And I'm going to give some examples of that will ring home hopefully with most of you, an example in business, an example in career, an example in fitness, and then give you some examples that I've personally experienced in my life in both business and fitness. Then I want to explore scenarios that a lot of us will find ourselves in where it's not the wrong time, but it's not the quote unquote right time. And we find ourselves kind of stuck in quicksand, unable to make steps towards achieving a goal because in our own minds, we convince ourselves that it's not the right time to take those steps. I then want to explore why that is problematic and what the flow-on effects are of consistently looking for the quote-unquote right time to take steps towards achieving your goals, and then round the episode off with some practical advice. So a little kind of 2 to 3 step process that you can apply when you inevitably find yourself in this situation where you're stopping yourself from taking steps towards achieving a particular goal because you justify and you convince yourself in your own mind that it's not the right time to do it. So firstly, this distinction between it being the wrong time to take steps towards achieving a particular goal. And this is important to understand, guys, because there are certain scenarios, and I'm going to give some examples in business and career and fitness, and then my personal examples, where taking steps towards achieving a particular goal in a certain area of your life would actually be foolish because there's either a threat in place, your priorities are out of whack, or there's just things that are too far outside of your realm of control that they are really going to make it difficult for you to be successful taking those actions towards achieving that particular goal. So some examples of it being the wrong time. Let's start with business. And a really relevant example at the moment of a particular threat is, let's say that you wanted to open your own gym. Let's say that you wanted to get into the gym business. That's your business venture. You've set your SMART goals. You've set your business plan. You're ready to go. Right now, with everything that's happening with COVID and the fact that we have had significant government mandated closures of gyms in particular, right now, at this point in time, it would probably be the wrong time to go and take steps towards achieving that particular business goal, because the threat of more government mandated closures, which is going to have, and we've seen it already, but it's going to have an absolutely devastating effect on a new business in the gym industry. It's a real relevant present threat that is completely outside of your realm of control. There's nothing you can do if you have government mandated closure. That would be the wrong time to go and take steps towards achieving that particular business goal. It's not the right time. It's most definitely the wrong time to go down that path. If we look at career and an example in the career realm, let's say that it's one of your goals to perhaps change career path, or perhaps pursue working for a different company. You're in your current position, you're being paid really well, but you just find yourself a little bit too comfortable. Perhaps you're getting a little bit bored and you're looking for the next challenge. So maybe it's a change in career, maybe it's a change in the company you're working for, but in the same industry. It's a career change. Either way you want to look at it. But at the same time, your partner has just had a baby. She's not working. She's on maternity leave. You are the sole breadwinner for your young family, and going and making that career change right now would be too risky because you're probably going to have to take a pay cut for it. You're going to be way outside of your comfort zone. You have responsibilities in your family that take priority right here, right now, over you wanting to change your career. That's an example, once again, of it being the wrong time. Not necessarily because it's a threat or something that's outside of your realm of control, but it's a difference in priorities. Your priority is to your young family, to provide for your young family, not to go and pursue the changing career that you've been wanting to pursue. So it's not the right time. That's another example of it being the wrong time to go and do that. And then fitness. I think a great example of fitness that I see very, very frequently, especially with the guys, is you want to build muscle, but you're a little bit fat, you're a little bit overweight. Because of that, probably got some underlying minor health issues that you need to take care of. You need to lose that body fat before you go and put yourself in a caloric surplus on purpose to allow yourself to build muscle. Once again, that's not an example of it not being not the right time. That's an example of it being the wrong time because your priorities are in such a way that you need to put your health first. You need to get that body fat down before you can go back into caloric surplus and build that muscle. Another example of it being the wrong time in the fitness realm. And I think the one thing that ties all of these examples of the wrong time, and I'm sure you guys can think of many more in different areas of your life, perhaps it's personal life, relationships, any area of your life. The one thing that ties these different examples together is that they're real situations that exist in the real world, not just in your mind. And that's going to make sense when we look at examples of waiting for it being the quote unquote right time. But examples of it being the wrong time to go and pursue a particular goal, to take steps towards achieving a particular goal, are real life situations. And they tend to either be a real life, real and present threat to you taking steps towards achieving a particular goal, such as the government mandated closures of gyms, or they are real life priorities that take priority over you taking steps towards achieving a particular goal. And I've got a couple of examples that I want to share with you guys that demonstrate some times where I have had to alter my path because it has been the wrong time to go and pursue particular goals that I really wanted to pursue. And both of them are 2019, as a matter of fact. So on the business side, in 2019, those of you who have been following me for a while would remember that I was very vocal in 2018 and definitely at the start of 2019 about rolling out the first step of the Massive Joe's retail store expansion in Melbourne. So in 2018, we did 4 new retail stores in Adelaide. We did effectively a retail store a quarter. And the goal was, and I was very vocal about, doing the same in Melbourne in 2019. So rolling out a new store a quarter until, 2019, 2020, 2021, until we got to, 10 to 15 stores in Melbourne and effectively built a retail store network in Melbourne like we have done in Adelaide. And I came to the realization that it was the wrong time to pursue that particular business goal because we had a couple of different scenarios kind of stack on top of each other. The first one was our inventory control, for a lot of reasons outside of our control and some of them within as well, was really in shambles. We weren't able to access stock at the rate we needed to be able to access stock to continue to supply our overall sales network in the Massive Joe's business, which is retail stores, online, wholesale, distribution. On top of that, being a self-funded business and opening 4 stores in a year in 2018 took a massive drain on our business cash flow to the point where we really either needed to access capital to go and open to implement the first stage of the Melbourne retail store expansion, or we were going to be in some serious cash flow difficulty because we'd spent so much cash the year before on the South Australian retail network. So those 2 scenarios kind of stacked on top of each other. And I got to the point as the leader of the business where it became pretty obvious to me that it was a combination of a real and present threat to the business because of the effect of our cash flow, and then also the priorities of the business because we needed to get on top of our inventory control. So it was almost like a 2-in-1 effect where I came to the realization that it was the wrong time to go and pursue this particular business goal or go and take steps towards this particular business goal. So I just put the brakes on it completely. Thank goodness, the benefit of hindsight now, because of all of the COVID restrictions, especially in Melbourne, it would have been absolutely catastrophic for the Massive Joe's business had we gone down that path. But that's an example in business that I personally have experienced quite recently, where it wasn't not the right time, it was plain and simply the wrong time because of the combination of the threat and the order of priorities of the other business objectives that we need to get in place. On the fitness realm, also in 2019, and I'm sure a bunch of you will be familiar with this because it was one of, and still is one of the most watched videos on the Massive Joe's YouTube channel. 2019 was my pro debut year. Once again, I was very vocal about this towards the end of 2018 and definitely the start of 2019 was 2019. I was going to do my pro debut, the San Jose Pro, the Chicago Pro, the Toronto Pro, and try and qualify for the Olympia in 2019. That was the goal. And I was very public and very vocal about pursuing that goal and started taking steps towards pursuing that goal at the start of 2019. But I was also going through something in my personal life towards the end of 2018 and the start of 2019, and that was the breakdown of my marriage and consequentially my divorce as well. And it became very obvious to me very quickly that taking care of everything surrounding that, specifically from a mental health perspective, was far, far greater a priority than making my pro debut that year in 2019. So once again, it became very obvious to me that it wasn't not the right time to go through that contest prep and go and make my pro debut and qualify for the Olympia and do all of the things that I was planning on doing and had already started moving towards. It was most definitely the wrong time because I had other priorities that were more important to me that required my complete energy, my complete focus, my complete time and dedication to make sure that I got on top of those and didn't compound them by throwing a prep in on top of that as well. So those are a couple of examples of my personal experience where it has been the wrong time to pursue a particular business goal and pursue a particular fitness goal. So let's flip the switch real quick and contrast this with what waiting for the right time looks like in these different scenarios. So I'm going to dive into some examples once again. Let's start with business. Let's pick any business. Let's pick any business that you want to start, but you haven't started it yet because in the particular industry that you want to open the business in, there's too much competition. The economy is not great, and you're just going to wait for, the economic conditions to get a little bit better, maybe the industry to kind of consolidate a little bit, maybe some of the competitors to fall over or get bought out by other competitors. And, somehow the industry is going to kind of open up and the opportunity is going to present itself for you to finally go, yes, beautiful. This is the right time for me to start this particular business. We all know that's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. You're waiting for a time that is never going to exist. There's always going to be competition. There's always going to be new competitors coming into the market. The economy is always going to have its ups and downs. It's never going to be the right time to take steps towards launching that business that you've been saying you want to launch for the last fucking 5 years. How about career? Let's go back to the same sort of example. Let's say that you want to switch companies. You want to stay in your industry, but you want to go and work for, maybe one of the competitor companies or maybe one of the bigger companies in your industry. You want to kind of step up, level up. But the economy's not great at the moment, and so you think that they're probably not hiring, so you just kind of sit on your hands and wait for it to be the right time. Wait for the economy to get better, wait for the industry to get better, wait for them to publicly start hiring again before you reach out and, you know, let them know that you're interested in coming across, you're interested in working for them. We know that that situation's never going to happen. Sure, the economy might get better. Sure, they might publicly start hiring again. But by the time that's happened, it's too late. You need to make contact now. The right time is right now. The squeaky wheel gets the oil. You got to be in their ear. You got to let them know that you want to come across, because they don't need to be hiring to hire you. They don't need to be hiring overall as a company to hire you. They don't need the economy or the industry to take an upturn to hire new people to come in. Perhaps you're the exact person that they need to get some old blood out of the company. Perhaps you are the opportunity they've been waiting for. But if you sit on your hands waiting for what you think is going to be the quote unquote right opportunity, you might miss the right opportunity that's right in front of you right now. And what about fitness? One of my favorite examples that I hear, especially coming into this time of year in the fitness realm, let's say that you want to tighten up a little bit. You know, the weather's getting better. We're in spring at the moment, heading into summer. You want to lose a little bit of the winter pounds you put on. You want to lose a little bit of that body fat. But, you know, the festive season's coming up. It's Thanksgiving around the corner, Christmas, New Year's, Christmas parties. You know, there's going to be a lot of temptation. There's going to be drinks. There's going to be alcohol. There's going to be food. It's just not the right time to go and pursue that fat loss goal, because there's going to be too much temptation. We all know this is bullshit as well. There's always going to be temptation. There's always going to be food and drink and alcohol and parties and all sorts of shit. Always. It's never going to be the right time to go and pursue that particular fat loss goal, to go and lose that little bit of body fat that you've been carrying for a little bit too long. And I think the one thing that ties these examples and many other examples together is these are stories that you tell yourself. When you contrast them to the examples of it being the wrong time that we went through, that are real situations that exist not just in your mind, but in real life as threats or differences in priorities. These sorts of bullshit excuses where you fail to take action because you're waiting for it to be the quote unquote right time are stories that you tell yourself. And because they're stories that you tell yourself, you'll keep making them up over and over and over again. In business, in career, in fitness, in personal life, it's never going to be the right time. Let me give you guys some examples. I'm going to go back a couple of years to 2017 for these two examples. Let me start with the business example. 2017, we decided to split TMJ Apparel, which at the time was Team Massive Joe's Apparel, away from the Massive Joe's business and really effectively start a new apparel company in 2017, when the apparel, especially in the fitness community, the apparel side of the industry was probably the most saturated it's ever been. It wasn't a great time economically to start a new apparel brand, no matter how you looked at it. There were new apparel companies popping up every couple of weeks at the time, but there were no legitimate threats. There were no legitimate differences in priorities. And if we waited for the right time, meaning, once again, the industry to consolidate, the economy to get a little bit better, who the fuck knows what we would have been waiting for, but this magical right time, we'd probably still be waiting right now in 2020. But we didn't. We took the steps. We separated the brand. We started a new apparel brand in 2017. And now, approximately, actually less than 3 years later, we've built a multi-million-dollar apparel brand effectively from scratch. Let me flip the switch. 2017, let's go to fitness. going to talk about my 2017 contest prep. So a little bit of 2016 background. 2016, I won the state title. I went to the nationals and didn't place at nationals, which was my worst ever placing or lack of placing at a national competition. Did not place. Didn't come top 3. Didn't come top 5. I didn't know where the fuck I placed. I didn't get a placing. So 2017 rolls around, and it would have been easy for me to say, you know what, it's not the right time. I didn't place last year, worst ever finish. Judging panel's exactly the same. I knew that there was going to be a change between the IFBB Amateur League and the IFBB Pro League. You know, why don't I just wait this one out? It's just not the right time. Let me wait. Let's get some fresh blood into the industry. Let's get some new judges in. You know, let me just wait for it to be the right time for me to go and try for my pro card again. Could have done that. Could have sat it out. But I didn't. I said, fuck that. I'm going to go into this prep like I've done every other prep, try and get better, take the judges' feedback on board, whether I agreed with it or not. They're the ones making the decisions. And I went through my prep in 2017, won the state title again, won the national title for the first time, won the Oceania title, won the Oceania overall title, and won my pro card. Won fucking everything. Because I decided to take control of the situation instead of looking for excuses as to why the situation was not ideal or it wasn't the right time for me to go and get better as an athlete. And then let me tell you what happened after that. 2018 comes along. The IFBB Pro League takes over the IFBB Amateur League in Australia, and I get invited to be a promoter of the IFBB Pro League in South Australia. An opportunity which would not have been presented to me had I not been a pro athlete at the time. Had I allowed my own thoughts of it not being the right time to compete in 2017 for whatever fucking reason I manufactured in my mind, not only would I not have turned pro, but I wouldn't have had the opportunity to become an IFBB Pro League promoter the year after. Isn't that funny how things work out like that when you decide to say, fuck all of this shit that's going on that's outside of my realm of control. I'm going to focus on what I can control and give everything I've got to try and achieve a particular goal. So what is the problem of waiting for the right time? There's a couple of things here, guys, that obviously the one at face value is that you procrastinate. You actually never take steps forward to reaching a business goal, a career goal, a fitness goal, a personal life goal, whatever fuck it is. You just kind of sit on your hands and you're continuously waiting for this magical quote unquote right time that is never going to occur. That's the face value problem with it. You never do anything. You just procrastinate. And I think it's worth noting that this is primarily driven by fear. It's primarily driven by fear of what happens if this doesn't work out the way I want it to work out. What happens in 2017 if I start TMJ Apparel and it fails? What happens in 2017 if I go back for my pro card and once again I don't place? What happens if I start my business and the business fails? What happens if I want to make this switch in my career to this company I really want to work for and they don't hire me? Or they do hire me and 6 months in they fire me because I'm not up to the task? What happens if I start this fat loss journey, this fitness journey, and the temptation is too great and I cheat on my diet and I'm not able to achieve the fat loss that I want to achieve? It's worth noting that all of these manufactured situations of waiting for the perfect time, waiting for the right time, are primarily driven by fear. And the only way to overcome fear is to confront it head on. You need to show fear. That fear needs to fear you, motherfucker. You don't fear fear. The second problem is that waiting for the right time conditions yourself to find excuses to hang failure on. So in the example that inspired this episode, that question I got in my IG story Q&A about, given the economic climate, is it the right time to start a business? That's effectively setting up a situation where if I start a business and it fails, that's all good. I can go hang the hat of failure on the fact that the economic climate was shit. And by conditioning yourself to find excuses to hang failure on, you're effectively setting yourself up to fail before you even begin. Because in your own mind, you're thinking, what if I fail? What excuse can I use to the naysayers and the people who are going to throw their fucking opinions in the ring when shit doesn't work? What excuses can I hand up to say, it's all good, this is why it didn't work? Instead of going into any venture with the mindset of, I'm going to make this work no matter what it takes. No matter what obstacles get thrown at me, no matter what the universe hands me up, I'm going to figure out a way to get through it. Failure is not an option. The third thing is that it conditions you to focus on things that are outside of your sphere of control. Rather than focusing on, I have a business goal that I want to pursue. These are the things that are within my sphere of control or my sphere of influence. Those are what I'm going to focus on. Instead of doing that, you start looking for all of these things that are outside of your sphere of control so that you can hang the hat of failure on them when it doesn't work. And I think this is probably the biggest problem with waiting for the quote unquote right time, because it's really conditioning you as a person and building routines in your mind as a person to focus on things that you have no control over, to focus on things that you can't do, rather than focus on things that are within your sphere of influence and focus on things that you can do. And when it comes to achieving goals in any area of your life, you have to focus on what you can do, not what you can't do. And you have to focus on things that are within your realm of control, not things that are outside of your realm of control. So practical advice. There's really 3 steps to this, guys, to kind of pull this all together for you and give you some practical tips and tricks for the next time you find yourself in a situation where you are really procrastinating, you are really sitting on your hands waiting for the right time, but deep down inside, is never going to be the fucking right time. I think the first thing is you have to be very specific with what you want to achieve. And this is a common theme across all of my content. You have to set specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound goals. The first letter in SMART is S. It stands for specific. If you don't know what you're trying to achieve, you're not going to be able to identify whether it's the wrong time, the right time, or anything fucking in between. That's the first step. Be very specific with what you want to achieve in business, career, fitness, personal life, relationships, whatever the fuck it is. Specificity is a major key. The next step is not to ask yourself if it's the right time, but to ask yourself, is it the wrong time? And these are the examples we went through at the start of this episode, guys. The government mandated closures for someone who's looking to open a gym. The responsibilities you have as a new parent in a young family, the financial responsibilities, the time-based responsibilities that you have that sit as a high priority to you making a career change. The situation where you need to lose body fat to get yourself in optimal health so that you can build muscle more efficiently rather than going straight into a caloric surplus right now when you're already fat and you shouldn't be in a caloric surplus. Ask, is it the wrong time? And identify them as threats that are real in existence or differences in priorities because something is more important to you right here, right now, than taking steps towards achieving that particular goal. If you ask yourself this question and the answer is yes, it's actually the wrong time to pursue my business goal, my career goal, my fitness goal, whatever, then you have to work through those threats or those priorities first. You can't take steps towards achieving a goal if it's the wrong time because you have real and present threats or you have other things that are more important. There's no way around it. You have to work through them. If the answer to that question is no, or if it's yes and you work through the threats, you work through the priorities, then it's time to take the leap, guys. It's time to get off your hands. It's time to stop procrastinating. And it's time to dive in and take the leap. That's it. This is a 3-step process. Next time you find yourself asking, is it the right time? Or next time, probably more specifically and more relevantly, where you find yourself procrastinating because in your own mind, you've told yourself that it's not the quote unquote right time. This is the process you go through. Be very specific with what you're trying to achieve. Ask yourself, is it the wrong time? If the answer is yes, work through the threats, work through the priorities. If the answer is no, get off your fucking ass and take the leap. It's time to go. So back to my Instagram story. I got a message back from the gentleman who asked me this question. And we got to talking. And I asked him about what the business was. I literally kind of took him through this process through the DMs. I said, what is the business here? Tell me a little bit about it and let me try and help you through whether it's the wrong time or whether it's time to stop procrastinating and get moving. And it just so happens that the business that he wanted to start was a raffle business, or like a raffle / lottery type business where he would sell tickets in a particular raffle and raffle off, cars or, just cool shit and donate a bunch of the profits to the Leukemia Foundation. And remember the question he asked was, given the current economic climate, is it the right time to start a business? And my answer was, if you have to ask that question, it's definitely not the right time to start a business. As we kind of delve deeper in, I said to him, man, you've got a business here where there's only winners. You're the winner as the business owner. The people buying the raffle tickets are winners because someone's going to win something really cool. And then the profits go to the Leukemia Foundation, so you're supporting charity. I said, not only is it not the wrong economic climate, it's actually the best economic climate for you to launch a business like this, because statistics show that when the economy is in a little bit of a rut or a big rut like it is at the moment, especially in Australia, people generally spend more money on things like raffles and lotteries because it's the aspirational, emotional connection to winning something. And people generally donate to charities when they have less to give because they find appreciation for what they have. So not only is this not the wrong time to start your business, this is actually probably the best possible fucking time to start a business like this. And so he agreed with me and he said, I'll message you in 12 months. I'm starting my business and we're good to go. And so I hope to hear back from him in 12 months and hopefully he has stopped using this excuse of it not being the quote unquote right time to start something. If it's not the wrong time, it's time to take action. And that's a wrap for this episode of Fitness Times Business. Guys, you know what I ask. If you have gained some value out of this episode of Fitness Times Business, I ask that you share the podcast, guys. That is the one and only thing that you can do to show appreciation for any value you're getting out of this content. Share it with your friends, your family. Take a screenshot right now, post it in your Instagram story, tag me at Joseph Mencel, and I repost as many of those tags as I possibly can. Guys, you could have been anywhere in the world right now, but you're here with me. I appreciate that. Until next time, we'll catch you on the flip side. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Fitness Times Business Podcast. Be sure to subscribe. And if you enjoyed listening to this episode, make sure you give us a 5-star rating. Until next time, we'll catch you on the flip side.